the comment about the comment about the painting that I have, my husband's jawline.
Titillating.
I did use the word
I love it.
titillating. I did go there, so you know.
It's incredible.
Welcome to Inside Rise4, where we honor the amazing humans behind our mission and gently ruin their day by making them feel as awkward as possible. On today's episode, we have Amanda Navarro.
I love it.
Amanda is our first ever practice growth advisor, which means that she's the person clinics talk to when they're looking to grow and really when they're looking to do anything. She started out with Rise4 on the front lines as an intake coordinator, taking calls, verifying benefits, and guiding patients into treatment. Before Rise4, she worked directly inside clinics where she facilitated TMS, Spravato, and ketamine treatments. So when it comes to practice success in interventional psych, she knows what she's talking about. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you, Jake. It's great to be here.
So here's how the show works. Every episode, we sit down with someone who's living the Rise4 mission each and every day. People who are helping clinics grow, improving the patient experience, and making life-changing treatments more accessible. But there's a twist. Before every episode, our producer and chief marketing officer, Aubrey, gives me a secret challenge, which I must complete during the course of the conversation. Now, you'll know what the challenge is. I'll know what the challenge is. But our guest, in this case, Amanda, will have absolutely no idea. So, with that said, here we go. Here's the challenge for this week. I have not looked at this. Interesting. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank God you provided examples because otherwise I have no idea what this means. Okay. All right.
I thought
I
that'd be
will-
pretty natural for you.
Yeah, I'll do my very best on that. Yep. All right. All right. Well, first of all, Amanda, thank you so much for being on Inside Rise4 with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the questions. So, Amanda, you're the first ever practice growth advisor at Rise4. Can you tell the audience what that title actually means and why Rise4 decided to move away from traditional account managers?
Great question. Typical client success manager. I think that's what we had initially gone with for the role name before. But our clients, we've had client success managers, but it's really not just about client success. It involves the patient experience and growth within the practice. That's what client success really looks like for us by
Nice.
helping our clients grow their practice, therefore helping them be successful.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, we see so often with these clinics, you could just throw marketing at them, but is it actually going to equate to reaching patients and getting them in the chair?
Right. What does it really look like behind the scenes? Are they following through with that? Do they have the tools? Do they have the resources? Do they have the understanding in order to put that into effect? What does that translate into?
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about maybe the meeting that we had today, for example, without mentioning any names, of course?
Yeah, today was a really good example of we've had a client who long-term issue really, and it's becoming a barrier to patient experience, their clinic's growth, with really just a misunderstanding, which, a lack of education on their part. A lot of clinics, they think it has to be one way, they think they have to do a process this specific way, or the providers sometimes, providers are sometimes very particular in how they want processes done. If a provider wants a process done X way, then, they just do it that way. But we've noticed, that's a common issue, medical records, prior authorizations. It's a very complex process. We see a lot of issues like that across the board, really, not just with this one client. But today, that call, we really just broke it down to the bare bones. this is what you need to do. This is how it needs to be done. This is how it's going to help your clinic. And this is what we're going to look for in terms of, success measures in the next month or two to see if these changes actually work.
Gosh, that must be like really frustrating having to deal with, because, we're a marketing company, but we do consulting. And obviously, you have a ton of experience in this. But at the end of the day, they sometimes look at us as a marketing company. How do you establish yourself? How do you get them to actually listen to you?
Sometimes it takes a while, but one thing that I like to do pretty early on, I think actually on our client kickoff calls, I've started saying a little bit about me and my expertise, where I come from, why I know what I know, how I know what I know, and why I'm in this role as practice growth advisor here with Rise4. The kickoff call is on our onboarding process. And so that really kind of just helps to establish right off the bat that I actually know what I'm talking about. But sometimes, it takes a little bit of time. Sometimes they're just difficult. Sometimes they don't want to listen. There could be a number of things as to why that may need to be reiterated.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning with Rise 4. You started as an intake coordinator with us, literally on the phone with patients all day long. What was a specific frontline experience that you had as an intake coordinator that shaped the way that you work with clinics now?
The amount of patients who expressed gratitude for me taking the time to listen, pre-screening, getting their history, that almost always leads to them telling you a little bit about their life story. So taking that experience now, I remember those times when I was the person calling on behalf of such and such clinic or receiving phone calls for such and such clinic. And I remembered how much that meant. And so I tried to put that empathy back into how I teach clinics about the patient experience. Growing their practice as a practice growth advisor is not just about, cash dollars. Yes, it's revenue, it's profitability in that aspect, but everything that we do, we always say it goes back to the patient experience. And so meeting them where they're at with that kind of empathy, it looks a little bit different now because I'm not educating patients per se or in the way that I'm in this role now. It's just a way for me to give back that empathy.
I love that. I love that so much. And, sometimes it's hard when you go from the transition of working with patients to working with clinics and no longer seeing patients and getting sort of that immediate validation. It
Yeah.
becomes a challenge at that point to stay connected to that sort of motivation that you have, like helping people. What specific things do you do to stay connected to sort of your root motivation?
Honestly, I stay pretty connected with those messages that come through from the intake team. I really love I really love being able to just see that those messages pop up in Slack. They've whether it's an intake client of mine or something like that, they'll have a patient who, they were on the phone with or something. I wasn't even directly, involved with the patient, but they'll say, "Oh, thank you so much for taking the time," or "Thank you so much for, fill in the blank." And, our intake coordinators are fantastic in that aspect. But remembering that there really are live people who need our help on the other side of what we're doing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So next question. Before Rise 4, you worked inside clinics doing TMS, Bravado, ketamine. What do most clinic owners not realize about the patient journey behind the scenes?
Oh, great question. I would say probably the amount of angst in the process, the amount of emotions. Like, there's so many emotions tied to the patient experience. There's sometimes hesitancy when the patient first calls. There's sometimes even shame or guilt, feeling like so bad that they have to reach out for help. Nobody likes to reach out for help. I think it goes against a lot of people's natural instinct to reach out and say, "Hey, I can't do this by myself. I need somebody to come alongside me and provide me with answers." There can be hope, there can be frustration. There's so many things that go into the patient experience that unless a provider is, really with that patient every step of the way, typically they don't see that part because they see the patient when, they're going to be having their evaluation. The front desk is the one who really walks with them through that. The TMS coordinator, the TMS treater, if that's a separate person. All of those people get a much better look, more transparent look at what that patient experience is versus the provider.
Wow. Yeah. I love the gentle way that you kind of weaved the answer together there. It was really remarkable. Without naming any names, give an example of a clinic that you work with right now that is growing fast and explain why they're growing fast. And then on the other side of that, talk about a clinic that you're working with right now that's stuck in the mud and explain why for that as well.
Actually, 3 good clinics immediately came to mind. I think one common thing that they're all actually doing is they've got good ad spend. They've got really good ad spend for, their digital marketing. They also do organic marketing. I see a ton of one of them specifically, they're an intake client. I see a lot of internal referrals, meaning existing patients that they will send to our intake team who they want our team to work and get set up for TMS or Spravato. Specifically, one that is not doing very well, a lot of it, I think for one of the clinics that comes to mind that isn't as successful as we would want to see them, there's a number of factors there inhibiting growth, but one of them is their internal processes. Just in general, they don't have great organization. They don't have a designated point of contact for our team who is consistently present, and so it makes it really difficult for our team to connect with them, provide them feedback. Software utilization is a huge one. We have our Rise4 app that we have built out with tons of features for our clients. When that is severely underutilized, that's usually a good indicator that they are not equipped internally to handle incoming leads.
It's hard sometimes to hear you talk sometimes because this beautiful painting behind you, it just has like the softest touch of afterglow. It's really exquisite.
Thank you.
So, practice growth is about the whole picture: marketing, intake, follow up, scheduling, everything. But if a clinic could fix just one thing to immediately improve patient volume, what would it be?
Great question. I would say having one dedicated person working the Rise4 app, monitoring incoming leads, calling them, texting them in a good amount of time, that would make a huge significant difference. Our successful clinics, our most successful clinics, I should say, they all have one person manning the Rise4 app and they've got good response times, good messages, stuff like that. And so I've been there. I've been that person. I've been the TMS coordinator, the treater who's also, calling back new patients. So I know how hectic it can be, but like I said earlier, that's what we're here for. We have an intake team. I'm able to, use my experience from, working in clinic before to be able to help people, manage their time, show them tips and tricks on how to maximize their time using the Rise4 app, things like that.
All right, so enough of the serious business here. We've had too many serious questions here. Let's go ahead and talk about you. Thinking back to your wedding, which just happened recently, right?
Yes, October 18th.
So, what was the funniest or most unexpected moment that happened that day?
The funniest moment I think that comes to mind. So we were married at our local church where Jose and I both met and we attend. And so we were outside doing pictures and we're in like a young adults group called Hyphen. And my pastor and his wife, they were both standing up with us in our bridal party. He's like 6'4", I think. Very, very tall. I mean, I'm 5'8", my husband's 5'6", I think. And so we're all lined up, outside. The weather's beautiful. We're, taking our group pictures. And our pastor has never been so close to seeing us kissing until this day. And he's literally standing over us. And our photographer says, "Okay, now kiss." And he's literally standing over us. Like, she basically told everybody to, like on both sides, like, "All right, now look in," and like, "Ah, celebrate, ooh, ah, whatever," while we're kissing. And he's just like, really uncomfortable.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I saw some of the pictures before of like your engagement, I think, and maybe you posted some of your wedding and stuff. I find it like your husband's like elegant jawline to
Oh,
just
yeah.
to really be like such a superb, like splendid notion that really is titillating a little bit, but So now we get into a different part of the interview. This is the pop quiz, okay? So we're going to ask you questions in rapid succession,
Ay.
and you just answer right off the top of your head. It doesn't have to be really long-winded answers, just, super quick answers. And then you'll be graded at the end based off of how, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh god.
There's 3 questions. That's it, okay? So nothing too crazy. All right, so here we go. Pop quiz. What was the weirdest or most emotional intake call you ever took while you were on the phones full time?
Oh my gosh. There was somebody that I talked to. He was very religious, which I mean, as am I, to an extent. And he was talking about like his mom and his pastor, and the pastor did this with somebody else in their congregation. And I was like, okay, this is not about TMS anymore. I hung up. He called back multiple times throughout the day, and then the week following, and then the week following. Yeah, I will never forget that.
So, what's the most underrated thing to do in Chicago?
Oh gosh, that's a great question.
And I should preface, obviously, by saying, you live in Chicago, since no one knows that. But
I do. So I will definitely say it's to not get pizza. Actually, I think that's one of the most underrated things. I do not like Chicago pizza. Deep dish pizza is not my thing. Give me a floppy New York style pizza all the way.
my gosh.
Even take Detroit pizza.
Wow. So
Dang.
Chicago, sound off in the comments.
Oh my God. Giordano's has just been slapped in the face.
Ooh.
See, Giordano's isn't even the OG. Mama Lou's recipe, that's where it's at. Lou Malnati.
Oh,
We're gonna get deep dish. Get it
there
from
you
Lou.
go. Okay, well, at least you know the best deep dish place.
Yeah.
And last question, now that you're living together, what's the most annoying habit your husband has that you didn't fully appreciate before marriage?
He will scrub every single thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I just had no idea. Our
Wow.
bathroom has never been cleaner.
I'm sure. Oh my God, he's gonna start scrubbing the paint off.
Literally. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I admire like the full force of, his effort in terms of just the general velocity of things. Now, before we wrap the show up, I just want to ask, do you happen to know what Aubrey's secret challenge was today?
There has to be something about using words incorrectly.
Yes, it was that's I mean, I don't know if it's about using words incorrectly, but I have to read this to you. So give at least 3 neutral observations slash strange compliments.
Oh,
I she gave 3 examples. You have a very consistent blinking rhythm. You have a very calm shoulder presence, and your posture is impressively committed. So I just decided to put some random words together.
yeah. The comment about the comment about the painting that I have, my husband's jawline. I was like,
Titillating. Titillating.
I did use the word
I love it.
titillating. I did go there. So,
It was incredible.
you can only see that on this show. That's the perk
Yeah.
of watching this show is you get to see me use words that I very rarely use, especially professionally.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I was gonna
So
say,
that
please
was-
try to work that into a work call next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this
You
was a
delivered.
great interview. Thank you so much. And thank you all for watching this episode of Inside Rise4, where we are changing mental health one awkward interview at a time.